What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you the top 5 RB2s to help you win your fantasy league. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, 'tis the season for fantasy football to be kicking off, and most of you, if not all of you, have already begun processing and predicting what it's going to be like at your fantasy football drafts. And I want to take a look at some options for the RB2s for our trash talkers out there. Taking a look at some of these players, we have a lot of guys that could end up being RB1s if they reach their potential. So I want to take a look at some of these guys. Nick, I want to start off with Atlanta Falcons running back Mike Davis.
Yeah, Mike Davis was a guy who took over for Christian McCaffrey last season in the wake of his pretty much season-long injury, and he fared fairly well in Matt Rule's system. He had 165 carries for 642 yards and 6 touchdowns, but that's as a running back, right? He was used also a lot as a receiving back, having 59 catches for 2 touchdowns, so he's a guy who can do it all. But then when you look at where he is, he's in the Atlanta Falcons system under Arthur Smith, the guy who's the offensive coordinator for Derrick Henry. So this guy loves having a solid running back that he can rely upon. Mike Davis has shown that he can be the focal point of the offense if he needs to be. And I think that Mike Davis in this system, with all the other weapons around him, he is not the focal point, but this gives him more opportunity to work. I think that you could see him having another similar balance of rushing attempts and passing attempts. And I think that it could even be upped in this offense if Arthur Smith continues to have the running back be the guy in his offensive system.
Yeah, I like what Arthur Smith brings to the Falcons offense, and what he did in Tennessee is any sort of prediction as to what we can see in Atlanta. Mike Davis could easily become an RB1 in all fantasy leagues. Moving forward, we have Patriots running back Damien Harris. Damien Harris coming off of his rookie season, and honestly, if you know Bill Belichick, he doesn't play rookies all that much. So when you take a look at what Damien Harris did, he had 137 rushes for 691 yards and 2 touchdowns, only 5 catches for 52 yards. He is the in-between the 20-yard line running back for the Patriots. He's not going to be a goal line, but what he's going to get in volume is going to be enough to make him an RB2, possibly an RB1 for your fantasy football league. Because if you take a look at what Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick have been scheming up, it is run the dang football. All they want to do is run this football down the opposing defense's throat, and that's what they're going to do, and it's going to be led by Damien Harris. Now that Sony Michel has been traded to the Los Angeles Rams, look for Damien Harris to get even more touches this season. Look for him to get more yards, more opportunities in the passing game. I like Damien Harris a lot. Look for him to be an RB2 for your fantasy football team. Next up, we have Seattle Seahawks running back Chris Carson. Nick, what do you like about Carson in this offense?
Chris Carson has been a big focal point for this team ever since he came to the Seattle Seahawks, and he's had his injury history, and I think that's what holds him back from being an RB1. But even when he's there, he gets 20 to 25 carries a game, and last season, in an injury-ridden season for him, he still had 681 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns, but then he had 37 catches for 4 touchdowns as well. Chris Carson, if he can stay fully healthy, if you multiply these numbers by 2, because he pretty much missed half the season, he's putting up massive numbers. He's putting up over 1,000 rush yards and nearly 1,000 receiving yards. This guy has the potential to really take your team to the next level. Chris Carson is heavily utilized when he's out there, and this offense seems to fall apart when he's not. I think that Chris Carson, if he can stay healthy, he's a guy that could really surprise you, really be a steal at the end of the day. Chris Carson is going to continue to fall because of this injury history, but if you play your cards right and you pick him at the right spot, he could really pay dividends for you.
Next up, we have Jacksonville Jaguars running back James Robinson. James Robinson actually came in last year as an emergency running back for this team as an undrafted free agent. He was not even guaranteed a spot on this roster. And then with the injuries to Raquel Armstead and opt-outs with COVID, there was a lot of things that led to James Robinson starting the NFL season as the RB1 for this team, and he took full advantage of it. James Robinson, a Pro Bowler last year, really took the league by storm with 240 rushing attempts, over 1,000 yards rushing, and 7 touchdowns, along with 49 receptions and 344 receiving yards. This guy is a do-it-all running back, and the injury to Travis Etienne, his Liz Frank injury, will now keep him out for the entire 2021 NFL season. You hate to see a rookie running back go down with such a massive injury, somebody who was slated to be such a massive part of this offense. Now with Trevor Lawrence under center, I look for James Robinson to not only get more carries, but also be more involved in the passing game. If you take a look at what Trevor Lawrence liked to run in college, what Urban Meyer liked to run in college, a lot of passes to the running backs. And James Robinson has shown that he can clearly take on that responsibility. I believe he is a fringe RB1, but definitely an RB2. Look to get him as late as you can in your fantasy draft because he could end up winning you the entire league. Finally, we have Josh Jacobs, our final running back for our RB2s here. Nick, tell us a little bit about Josh Jacobs and what he can bring to our Trash Talkers fantasy football teams.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs was a guy who was a first-round draft pick in fantasy football over the last couple seasons. But now with the addition of Kenyon Drake, a lot of people are pushed off by everything, and they don't really want to draft Josh Jacobs as high as he really should be. But when you look at the numbers, Josh Jacobs last season put up 273 rush attempts, over 1,000 rush yards and 12 rushing touchdowns, but then had 33 catches for 238 yards. He's not going to have the same amount of rush attempts with Kenyon Drake, that is correct, but he's still going to have a massive workload, especially in the red zone. This is where he shines. He gets touchdowns. He has a nose for the end zone, and at the end of the day, that's what wins you games, is having your players score touchdowns for you. That is the real difference maker for a lot of teams in fantasy football, and Josh Jacobs could really get you those big games. I think Josh Jacobs has still the potential to be an RB1, but I think that right now you can get him at the end of the 3rd round, early 4th round, and that is a huge steal because he has such a massive upside, especially with how much John Gruden loves using him.
Absolutely. I love Josh Jacobs. I've loved him ever since he came out of the University of Alabama and into this league. I'm excited to see what he can do for your fantasy teams, but I want to hear from you guys. Let us know who you plan on taking as your RB2. Let us know what you think about the RB2s that we had to tell you about, and let us know, honestly, let us know if you want us to continue to do fantasy videos, if you like what we have to offer, if you think that we should stick to what we normally do. I want to hear from you guys, so let us know in the comments down below. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.